You know that feeling when you first start a new job? Your stomach is tied up in these tight little knots. You've bought a couple of crisp new shirts that don't quite feel like you yet, and you are absolutely, undeniably determined to prove that they didn't make a massive mistake by hiring you. So, what do? You come in early, you stay late, and you say yes to absolutely everything thrown your way. It feels like you're just paying your dues, right? My name is Steve, and I spend way too much time thinking about workplace psychology, money, and why so many of us burn out trying to climb ladders that honestly feel like they're built on quicksand. We all buy into this idea of the 90-day probationary period. It's standard, right? But what if I told you that those first 3 months aren't actually about seeing if you're a good fit? They're a psychological trap, and once you see how this trap is engineered, how it silently programs your entire future at that company, it will completely change how you approach your career, your boundaries, and ultimately, your paycheck. Are you ready? Let's get into it. 1. The honeymoon hustle and the adrenaline lie. Let's start with the first couple of weeks. I call this the honeymoon hustle. Basically, when you walk into a new office or, log into a new Slack workspace, you are running on pure adrenaline. You want to be the good hire. You want your manager to go home and tell their partner, wow, we really struck gold with this one. So, you sprint. Your boss asks if anyone has bandwidth to take on this messy inherited spreadsheet from a guy named Craig who quit 3 months ago. Your hand shoots up. I can do it. You eat a sad wilted desk salad while reorganizing the entire digital filing system. You are operating at 120% capacity. Here is the simple breakdown of what's happening. You are using temporary energy to solve permanent problems. I remember doing this at my second agency job. I wanted to impress the creative director so badly that I started jumping into client calls that had nothing to do with my department. I was pitching ideas, taking notes, basically acting as an unpaid project manager. I thought I was showing initiative. Why does this matter to you? Because adrenaline eventually wears off. The honeymoon hustle makes you feel like a superstar, but it's physically and mentally unsustainable. You can't sprint a marathon. If you start your new job running at a dead sprint, you're going to collapse by mile 3. But the company is going to expect you to keep that pace for the entire 26.2 miles. Takeaway: recognize the urge to overperform in the first month. Notice when your ego is driving your workload. It's okay to be eager, but you have to keep your foot hovering near the brake pedal. 2. The baseline illusion. This brings us to the core mechanism of the trap. Let's talk about the baseline illusion. When you operate at 120% for your first 90 days, your employer does not see someone going above and beyond. They don't look at you and think, wow, Steve is really pushing himself temporarily to show us his absolute maximum output. No, they think, oh, this is just how Steve works. This is his normal. You have accidentally recalibrated their expectations. Your 120% just became your new 100%. Think of it like stepping onto a treadmill that's already moving at 10 miles per hour. If you manage to keep up with it for 3 months, the treadmill doesn't know you're exhausted. The treadmill just assumes 10 miles per hour is your comfortable walking pace. So, what happens when you finally get tired and drop your output down to a normal, healthy 85%? To you, it feels like finding a sustainable work-life balance. To your manager, it looks like a 15% drop in performance. Suddenly, you're losing your edge. You're getting comfortable. It is incredibly difficult to scale back your effort once you have established a superhuman baseline. This is honestly one of my biggest frustrations with corporate culture. You are punished for your own early efficiency. I once fixed a jammed, horribly complex industrial printer on my second day at a job just because I happened to know how to clear the paper path. Guess who became the unofficial IT guy for the next 2 years? This guy. I wasn't paid for it. It wasn't in my job description, but I established a baseline that I was the guy who fixes the printer. Takeaway: you have to deliberately pace your output during your first 90 days. Hold back about 15% to 20% of your maximum capacity. Keep it in reserve. When a true emergency hits, you can deploy it and look like a hero rather than making heroism your daily expectation. 3. The weaponization of culture fit. Now, right around day 45, you're going to run into the culture fit test. Companies love to throw around phrases like, we wear a lot of hats here, or we have an all-hands-on-deck mentality, or the absolute worst one, we're like a family. Quick digression. If a company says they are like a family, run. Usually, it means a highly dysfunctional family where the parents don't pay you enough and guilt trip you for setting boundaries at the dinner table. During the 90-day trap, companies use the concept of culture fit to see how much boundary crossing you will tolerate. They will ask you to do things outside of your job description under the guise of being a team player. They are testing the fences, like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. They want to see where the weak spots are. If you answer an email at 9:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, you have just told them that your personal time is actually company time. If you agree to plan the office holiday party, even though you were hired as a data analyst, you have just told them you are willing to do emotional and administrative labor for free. Why is this so dangerous? Because in the first 90 days, you are terrified of failing the culture fit test. You want them to like you, so you fold. You let the boundaries fall. Takeaway: you have to learn the art of the strategic, pleasant pushback early on. You don't have to be a jerk about it. If someone asks you to take on an extra project outside your scope, say something like, "I'd love to help with this, but I want to make sure I'm fully mastering my core responsibilities this month. Can we revisit this in a few weeks?" Protect your fences. 4. The 90-day mirage, the review. So you make it. You hit day 90. You've survived the probationary period. You are exhausted. You are stressed, but you did it. You proved your worth. You walk into your 90-day review expecting a parade, or at least, a meaningful conversation about your future, maybe an adjustment to your salary since you're now doing the job of 1.5 people. And what happens? Your manager smiles, looks at a piece of paper and says, "You're doing great. We're so glad you're here. Keep up the good work." Maybe they hand you a company-branded Yeti mug, which, side note, why are corporate mugs always so aggressively heavy? It's like drinking out of a dumbbell. But there is no raise. There is no parade. There is only the realization that the trap has snapped shut. Keep up the good work means keep operating at 120% capacity for the exact same salary we agreed upon when you didn't know how chaotic this place was. This is the sunk cost payoff. You invested all this extra energy hoping it was a down payment on future leverage or a quick promotion. But companies don't usually promote people for doing their current jobs perfectly. They just give them more of that exact same job. You've essentially given away your most valuable negotiating chip, your extra effort, for free. Takeaway: never assume that hard work speaks for itself. It doesn't. Hard work just quietly buys itself more work. If you are going to go above and beyond in your first 90 days, document exactly how you went above and beyond, and bring that data to your review to negotiate your trajectory, not just to get a pat on the head. 5. Escaping the trap, the art of the 85% rule. So, how do we fix this? How do you walk into a new job next week and not fall into the trap? It comes down to a concept I like to call the 85% rule. When you start a new role, your goal should not be to show them how fast you can run. Your goal should be to show them how consistently you can walk. Here is what that looks like in practice. Establish your working hours on day 1 and stick to them. If you clock out at 5 p.m., log off. Do not check Slack on your phone. Take your full lunch break. Step away from the desk. Under-promise and over-deliver. If a task will take you 2 hours, tell your boss it will take 4. When you deliver it in 3, you look incredibly efficient, but you still gave yourself a buffer to breathe. I know this sounds counterintuitive. It feels almost dangerous, right? Like you're slacking off. But you aren't. You are establishing a professional, sustainable baseline. You are teaching the company how to treat you. Remember, an employee who consistently delivers good work at 85% capacity for 5 years is infinitely more valuable to a smart company than an employee who burns at 120% for 8 months and then quits because they are having daily panic attacks in the office bathroom. Protect your 15% reserve. It is your sanity. It is your creativity. It is the energy you need for your actual life, your family, your hobbies, and yourself. The 90-day probationary period isn't a test of your worth as a human being, and it certainly isn't a mandate to sacrifice your mental health to prove you deserve a paycheck. It is simply an adjustment period. We've covered how the honeymoon hustle drains you, how the baseline illusion tricks your employer into expecting too much, and how culture fit is often used to tear down your personal boundaries. We also talked about the harsh reality of the 90-day review, that a heavy mug doesn't pay the rent. If you are starting a new job soon, or even if you're years into one and feeling the weight of a baseline you set too high, I want you to give yourself permission to step off the treadmill. You don't have to be a superhero to be a good employee. You just have to be consistent, clear about your boundaries, and fiercely protective of your own energy. Take a deep breath, recalibrate your pace. You've got a long, wonderful career ahead of you, and it's entirely up to you to decide how fast you want to run.